When I was hungry, you fed me. I was thirsty, gave me a drink. Visit me through sickness and imprisonment. You always clothe me. I'll never be a stranger. Community Church Indy, where the gospel is shared and lives are
I give you a countdown.
But I can't hear nothing on this side. Here you go.
You always clothe me. I'll never be a stranger. Community Church Indy, where the gospel is shared and lives are saved.
If you would like to be included in this broadcast, simply call 317-239-1310. Join us while our show is already in progress.
All right, I'm your host, Antonio Lipscomb. I am the senior pastor of Community Church Indy. We come on each week from the hours of 6 to 7. Of course, we have changed a way of doing broadcast. Most of my audience is used to us doing the Black Power Presents broadcast. As we develop and grow and move into a variety of different areas, I saw fit that it'd probably be better for us to continue broadcasting our church endeavors as well as our community endeavors under the platform of Community Church Indy. Let me share with you about our church. Our church is a church that believes in relationships. Oftentimes, we know that it's been a challenge with us just simply sitting down around the dinner table, talking, learning one another, sharing with one another, helping us to be able to commune with each other and have a better understanding. Oftentimes, we're kind of programmed into the computers, the iPhones, et cetera, and it's very difficult for us at times now to just have fellowship. But our church is big on fellowship, is big on investing in gifts, because oftentimes when you go to church, you don't feel like you're included. Sometimes I know I did, and I couldn't find my fit. And I think it's primarily because oftentimes the church is primarily built around keeping itself alive. And of course, we do need the church to stay alive. However, I don't believe the Lord has called us to be in a survival mode, but being more of a thriving mode. And so that's the reason why we are led by the Lord. We've been going for about a year. We started out in my office building on 3266 North Meridian. Went there and met with Harry Dunn and the Collegiate School of Arts, and was able to move into that location and stayed there for a while. And upon staying there, we always had a desire to want to have our own location. And I'm proud to report that we have moved into our new location on 2748 Dr. Andrew J. Brown. We've done a lot of renovations to the building, and we're just excited about this new chapter of being able to serve the community, because that's really what it's all about, serving our community. Somebody may say, well, we don't need another church. Well, we don't need another liquor store. We don't need another a gas station that sells drug paraphernalia out of it, but it's happening, and my opinion, the more we have organizations in our community that's trying to make a difference, especially with a faith-based value system, I think that this is what makes the difference in our community. Hey, I got some open lines today, so I want you to call in. 317-239-1310 is the number to call. Hopefully, you guys are hearing us well on Facebook. We do have a Facebook following, and we want you all to continue to chime in and call in. 317-239-1310 is the number to call. I'll say that slower. 317-239-1310 is the number to call. Now, I want to share with you some concerns I have in relations to the community. We know that the political season is creeping upon us, and there's going to be great attempts for those who are seeking political office to run for office, and rightfully so. We do want to get behind candidates that have our interests in mind. I'm a part of AMAGI, that's the Interdenominational Ministry of Alliance of Greater Indianapolis, which our president is Derek Jefferson, serving along with a number of different pastors and leaders in the city. Pastor Bruce Farr is also a vice president of our board. We have Harry Dunn, who's actually come on to be a part of our board, and we're organizing. What are we organizing for? We're organizing to deal with the homicide problem. The homicide problem, in my opinion, is one of the worst, if not top three problems of crisis we see in our city. First, of course, is COVID. Homicides, in my opinion, is a close first and second. Then, of course, the drug problem. The drug problem is a huge problem with people taking overdoses and whatnot, and overdosing drugs, etc. So these are areas that we want to focus on. Homicides. We want to focus on our reentry population. Quite frankly, we get people getting out of jails and prisons, etc. And we want to make sure that we reduce recidivism, and we do that by the way of making sure we have plans for those who are getting out of the jail. Of course, we have a new jail, the Criminal Justice Center, and it's a huge facility. Look like they've done a pretty good job on remaking it. I'm hoping that that's working out for our community. I know that we have endeavors to want to get a part of this. But we do have our guest that has come on with us, Dr. Dorothy Herron. How you doing, Dr. Dorothy Herron?
I'm doing almost perfect. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Hey, Dr. Herron, I was talking about Amaji, and I was talking about our need to come together as a community, and I was talking about these four focus areas: crime, reentry, mental health, and also education. Of course, the fifth one would be economic development, where we are looking to strategize, do business, etc. But when you look at the church, of course, people say, well, the church shouldn't be involved in politics, yet we have political leaders who come and they ask for our vote. Oftentimes, we're tied to a party, and we want to get a person elected based on a party affiliation. Now, one of the challenges with that is when we get people give people our vote, especially our faith-based community. When we give them our vote, oftentimes we don't really even know the basics of how the government works. We don't know the basics of how things work in relations to local politics. Of course, we look at the mayor. We say, hey, the mayor's this, the mayor's that, but we never look at how we're affected in relations to the city council. Like, what is the city council? What are their roles and responsibilities? When you look at the committees that they're serving in and the decisions that's being made, there's millions and millions and millions of dollars that's getting ready to be appropriated throughout this city, particularly for reentry. I see a lot of grants and whatnot for reentry and other opportunities and services. And a lot of times these grants go over to a municipality People write in to give their intellectual property to this particular group, and then consequently, some are funded, some are not funded. I know that I've written a grant one time before, gave my intellectual property up and was never able to receive a grant. Matter of fact, we have done a lot of work in the city of Indianapolis, helping change a lot of lives, and we cannot get one dime from the city to help and support us. Now, I know I'm not the only one. I'm just not trying to sound self-serving, because there's plenty of people who are doing great work, but yet can't tap into the city funding for that work. And then, of course, there's always those different type of reasonings as to why, this didn't happen, that didn't happen, you didn't jump through this hoop, you didn't dot this I, you didn't cross this T, et cetera, et cetera. And even when you cross the T and dot the I, it's still hard for us to get through for some reason. People like being others. But on the flip side of that, I think one of the biggest things we can do is learn to organize, come together, and figure out, hey, what works for us? How can we make the system work for us? Um, and so, Dr. Dorothy, which you've done a great job at working with the local university here, but you also are working along with our church, as well as our 501c4, the National Political Network, so that we can bridge the gap, because we know that there's a lot of faith-based leaders who wants to be able to direct people in the plain path of people signing on for our interests, yet people come by to receive our capital of our vote, but yet they're not tied into the problems that we're faced with. And the reason why I know is because the legislation don't back up how we need that difference to be made for our community, especially with homicides. It's just really ridiculous. Mental health, really struggling with those areas of homicides and mental health. So, Dr. Heron, we created this 501c4 non-for-profit organization, this bipartisan national political network, which I am president over, and Dr. Heron serves as our vice president. We made this organization because we want to educate our community politically. We want you to come to the table prepared. We don't want you to come and give your vote and you don't even really know who you voted for. We want you to get behind candidates that's going to have your best interests at heart. So that we don't care if you are a libertarian, we don't care if you are Democrat, we don't care if you're Republican, independent, which I am an independent candidate. I walk straight down the middle of the aisle. I want to talk to Republicans. I want to talk to Democrats. I want to talk to anybody who has our best interests at heart. So, Dr. Heron, are you still with us? All right, we can't hear her, but she's serving pretty good with us, and we just want to hear from her when we get a better connection. Uh, I want to throw this out here. I want to ask a question. Uh, if you guys can hear me, call in 317-239-1310. I want to make sure we can hear our callers and that we're getting the word out. I want to hear from you. I mean, I know that voting, it's going to come up, especially in May. We're going to choose a candidate to represent us. I want to hear from you. I mean, what do you think about this political process, particularly in Marion County? Because, we got slating and all that sort of thing. And we want to come to the table. We want to get to the table. We have people who are actually volunteering, has volunteered so that we can volunteer to run for the precinct committee seats is what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of people running for the precinct committee seats this term in the Democratic Party. My wife, Shauna Lipscomb, being one of those. Lisa, she's actually running. And So we just want to hear from you. 317-239-1310 is the number to call. And we would love to get with you to hear from you. Um, yeah, so uh, give us a call. 317-239-1310 is the number to call. I think Larry's on the line. Go ahead, Larry. What's your comment or question? Larry, are you live?
Hello.
Hey, Larry, can you hear us? I'm trying something new, Larry.
Hello.
I'm actually in my church location trying to do
Hello.
studio. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Can you hear me, Larry? Larry, can you hear me? We're on the air.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm here. All right. So, want to hear from Larry? Go right ahead. Okay, if you unmute your side, I think it will be a go for Larry to come on. We cannot hear from Larry. We can't hear on our side. Yeah. So, um, hopefully, everything goes well. Uh, okay. So I think on our producer side, if we're not mistaken, you have the line muted, and if you was to unmute it, I think we'll be able to get to our callers. Um, so I think there's something going on your end where you're muting the callers. Feel free to, feel free to have those callers call back. I know that Dr. Heron was trying to get on as well as Larry. I don't know if we're still on the air right now, but we're certainly on our Facebook page. I was talking to our church this Sunday, and I was surprised. That a lot of our church members didn't even know the basics of how things work politically, especially locally. Didn't I asked the congregation's done a survey. I just said, how many people are on? No, excuse me, know who their city council person is. And when I asked that question, how many people do they know who their city council person is? Very few people raised their hand. I asked our church a question. I said, "Well, do you know who your state representative is?" It was probably only one or two hands went up of people who knew who their state rep was. I asked them, did they know who their state senator is? There's very few hands that went up to state that they knew who their representatives are. Now, if you don't know who your representative is, when everything comes down the pipe, when it comes to laws and legislations and things of that nature, uh, we're not going to be able to get anything done. I'm gonna see if I can call Dr. Heron and get her on our voice. See if we can get her talking through this phone. Maybe she can come in that way. Dr. Heron, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm listening. I can hear, but it's for some reason we can't connect with you, but we can hear you talking.
Okay, wonderful. Well, Dr. Heron, I'm going to go ahead and let you speak through this phone, okay?
Okay, it works.
Okay, I think that they'll be able to hear us even on the air. Now, Dr. Heron, you have joined us with the National Political Network Group.
Correct.
What does that mean to you? Because I know we've been going to church, shouting and dancing and doing that sort of thing and reading the word. But when we start looking at how we, as a church body of faith-based believers, how we can come together, and we're doing a 501c4 to help back up candidates that's running, educate our community on voting, and maybe be involved with the legislative process of helping particular bills get passed, and even writing our own bills through lobbyists and things of that nature, or people who are serving in the office that we get with them to support that. What does that mean to you?
Well, what it means to me, our organization is our people will understand and be able to know more about the political system. Like you were saying, you asked questions at church on yesterday, and very few people knew what was going on or knew their legislator. They didn't know their senator. But what we're doing, even yesterday when you brought it up, they started thinking and they started knowing where to go to get the information about what's going on. We've been programmed, mostly all of us have been programmed. Just vote Democrat. We don't know who those people are that we're voting for, but and our candidates have gotten real comfortable. We don't have to contact them. We don't have to do a lot of campaigning. Just they're gonna vote the ticket. So we're learning better that everybody on that Democrat ticket is not for us and don't care about what we care about. So I think the National Political Network is a godsend because we will educate our people. We will have forums. We will listen to, just find out. Like, we really know what's going on in the community. Y'all just turn us loose. We could fix it. But, you got to dance to the music. You got to go get this, and you got to do that. And you kind of like have to get permission to do what you can do to help fix some things. So I'm excited about where we are right now and where we're going as a network and bringing people together.
Yeah, that's very, very important. Oftentimes, when we look at the scriptures, and when you open up your mind and start looking at how the world works, how things work, sometimes we become so spiritually minded that we're no earthly good. There are simple principles that God has put in the earth so that we could benefit from them. I like what T.D. Jakes said. He said, God gives us the tree, but he doesn't make a house or frame a house with the wood. He doesn't create a table with the wood. He simply just gives us the tree. And then we imagine what that tree could be. Oftentimes, we have the steps. We have the key to what we need to do. God has put an imagination in us so that we can use that imagination to believe that we can accomplish what we need to accomplish. But we have to do our part. We can't expect God to come down and just do everything for us when he has created us to do what we're supposed to do for ourselves. Would you agree with that, Dr. Heron?
I agree 100.
So go ahead and elaborate on that, if you don't mind.
Well, the church is who and what we believe in. And most folks, not most now, because people are leaving the church and they don't want to hear what the church leaders are saying because of the situation that we're finding ourselves in with high crime and homelessness, mental health issues. We're just lost and kind of waiting. I'm not going to do nothing. I don't know what to do, so I'm not going to do nothing. I'm not going to vote. Well, if I do vote, I'm going to vote Democrat. But there's so much going on that the church is not getting. The church is not getting. the message out. And I was a little distracted, so
well, yeah, I agree with you, Dr. Hare. You know, it's a temptation for the church to respond out of emotionalism. You know, we want to, you know, get the music going. We want to shout. We want to dance. And that's good. We want to praise the Lord. That's good. We want to worship the Lord. That's good. But it's a time for all things. And when it's time to hear the word of God and receive it and act upon it, then that's what we have to do. We can't be stuck on just, you know, acting out of the emotional side and not really getting down to business when it comes to what the work of the Lord is. Would you agree with that?
I agree, because it's like it's been kind of cut off. You know, after we leave church on Sunday, and then when Monday morning comes, we go back to grinding. You know, I got to get to the 9 to 5. And then when you get off from the 9 to 5, you got to come home, you know, and do things that needs to be done. And we don't get a chance to be educated, because, you know, we'll go to church, but a lot of times the church is not sharing. You know, we doing the dancing, and, you know, we do the preaching, and we do a little teaching about what Job went through, and we're not relating. Like a month or so ago, we were being taught on the book of Daniel, and people are not relating the Bible to what's going on right now, and the things that they had to do in the Bible, like wars and fighting and especially fighting against injustice. We don't relate it to what we might have to do. We just go to church, and then we go home, get ready for Monday.
Mm-hmm. And you're right, and that's really not the church. That's more or less a social agency, you know, not a social agency, but more like a association where you come together and you have fellowship, you know, you share with something and then you go home. That's an association. That's not a church. A church has always been about changing the community, believing that what we believe is going to make a difference in society. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Right. And there was a time when we as a people stood up and said, you know, enough is enough. You know, I don't mind bringing up the Emmett Till story and what went on after these folks, the folks in Mississippi killed him, and the way they did it. You know, people said, you know, that's too much. You know, they coming in our houses, getting our babies and killing our babies. And they decided, okay, let's organize. Let's come together and just let the powers that be know that we're not going to stand for that. And they paid attention. And then it's like we got comfortable, and we went back to just going to church, doing the social thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even back in the day, I'm from Mississippi, and back in the day when the folks would go to the cotton fields or the tobacco fields, they had a way of communicating and getting things done, even though they were working from sun up to sundown. They had songs that they sang, and they had messages that they traveled across the cotton field to let them know, okay, this is what we're going to do tonight. They would put it in a song. We're going to meet at such and such, and that's what they would do. Even the song Down by the Riverside, that was a message in that song that the master didn't know what they were talking about. And they would meet, and they would come together and say, this is what we're going to do. And they did those things.
Right. So I guess we have just a little bit of technical difficulties, but we're able to hear you very clear on my phone. So I guess the way we're gonna try it, this one, the way we're gonna try it today is if you have something you'd like to share on the air, feel free to call in and join in and on this show. If you can't get 317-239-1310, you can simply just call my direct line, 317-205-7058, 317-205-7058. Now, here's the thing, Dr. Heron. We go to church, we enjoy the church ministry, and of course, as we enjoy the church ministry with no social justice ties to it, I'm talking about as a whole. You gave the church some type of grade, probably be D minus when it comes to dealing with social justice issues and things of that nature. When you look at the party interest, it seemed like we're more about the party politically and not engaging too much in the party, but just doing what we can to support it. But then we're not looking to inject our cultural beliefs, our faith. We're not looking to impart none of that into in city government. We leave that up to someone else to take advantage of, and then consequently, we struggle with home ownership. We struggle with good housing and schools and medical care, and there's this big number of people going to jails and prisons and things of that nature. We have high homicide rates. We have mental health concerns and things of that nature that we're struggling with. And I think a lot of this ties back to political parties and how laws are being legislated that kind of keep certain people, poor people, people of color, etc. Not just people of color, but poor people, every race of people, not able to have access to certain things. If you're poor and all this sort of thing, and it's very unfortunate. And I think the church has a responsibility to come outside of the four walls and get involved. If you got something you want to share in this, conversation, again, feel free to call 317-205-7058, 317-205-7058. You can call in. I don't think our station part is working. I want my guy, my producer TJ, to kind of check us out on the station part, so that we can try to see if we can hear from that perspective. If you're listening to us, we're located on, if you listen to us from the FM, we're on 1310 AM, 1310 AM. And if you listen to us on the FM, we're 92.7 on your FM dial if you're listening to us. Now, one of the things I'm encouraged to have contact with is our prosecutor, Ryan Mears. I'm very impressed with Ryan Mears. He's really done a great job. I think something came out with the FOP against Ryan Mears. I'm not sure or not. But there's certain ways he's trying to prosecute cases that could possibly keep people out of the jail for low-level offenses like marijuana and things of that nature. Now, I'm not advocating smoking marijuana. I don't feel like it's a big deal, though, to be honest with you. I don't think it's a criminal thing. If that's somebody's preference, just like people drink. I don't believe that, people should drink to get drunk, but that's my own personal preference. But to try to do that and have all these people going to all these jails and filling them up, I don't think that's a good thing. I got Larry. Let me try to blend Larry in. Hold on for a minute, Dr. Dorothy. I'm going to try to hear from Larry real quick, okay?
Okay.
Hey, Larry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Good. We having a little bit of technical difficulties in the studio.
I know I'm on the air now, but you know what?
Uh-huh.
You have a table set out with provisions, the EEOC, that was specially targeted toward black people who were just getting out of slavery and needed the extra help. But you know what happened?
What's that?
I know the concerned clergy here in Indianapolis, everybody gets to make their own ruling on that, but we went to a hearing and we were discussing whether white women could be a part of the EEOC. We went to the hearing, and you never go to a hearing naked. They went in there and did not object on the record to any of that. So that means now that women are a matter of public policy admitted as a minority. Another thing that just happened at the State House, almost every pastor in church, we need a new church. We need a new church, Anthony. Now, they went over to the State House and lobbied to beat 1134. You know how you build consistency in government, consensus. So now they got it that looks like black people support making the GLBTQ a minority. So they went over there and ratified that, right? So the next time you go for a contract, you're going to have white men, the wealthy GLBTQ bidding against you. We don't have the deep pockets, Anthony. So that's just eliminating us at every step of the way. I think our problem is we have the wrong people at the table trying to negotiate business deals. You don't go to the table on the business deal, giving away your provisions and getting no concessions in return. That's what we've been doing all along.
Yeah.
You send somebody that's not school in business. My dad told me a long time ago, there's no favors in business, only mutual agreements.
Only mutual agreements, that's right.
I know one time they were talking about my group, the concerned clergy. Why don't Wilhelm and them train our people how to do business? They're not going to train you how to do nothing. Take food off their table. That's the reality of it. You can't be nice in business, Anthony, or you're going to get your head married into the ground. And most of these people that are coming out here, like you said, for the contracts and stuff, for the 501c3s, you dump your guts out on the table, then all they do is find some weak point, and 2 or 3 months later, the IRS is at your door asking you why you didn't pay last quarter's taxes. So that's all that amounts to. And Camille ran that scam for many years.
Let me ask you this question, Larry, while we're talking. Let me ask you this question. Now, you know that there's a lot of money coming out through the city, right?
Yes.
Now, with those grants coming out, have, let me see, the CICF, am I calling it right? The CICF?
CICF, yeah.
They are going to be the decision makers on these funds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have small groups like myself and others that we go and we put all our information out, in intellectual property, and we send it over there only to be denied any level of city funding.
You're going to be denied because why? They have the criterion set up so that you don't meet the criterion to get those grants. They'll tell you, come back later and we'll teach you how to get it. And they're going to do nothing. You know what the CCF main thing is distribute their money to the people that they know are going to bring nothing to the table, Anthony. And it's mostly colored people that do it. I mean, they're sitting up there, Bob, Maggie, Leroy, sitting right up there on the city council. They've not done nothing for black people, and they can't do nothing. That's a fact. They're nothing but a token. So, if we don't get ourselves together, Anthony, and start looking at a business perspective, all our churches, all the daycares, right? You seen those are going out of business. You know why? Because back a while back, the United Way took that over and gave grades on what kind of child school you are, right?
Okay.
So they put all the churches out of business, and now they're not going to be able to come back. And, we got them closed down because of COVID. We need a new church. Some churches going to be realistic and not be pipe dreaming. We built all those buildings, Anthony. You see all the big mega churches that was built?
Yes, sir.
All that legacy money went to white church had over the period from the 60s and 70s spent all their money to build their building with white contractors that took our legacy money, right? And put it all in frozen assets.
Wow. Well, Larry, listen, man, I got to go, but check this out. Please come and visit me, man. I enjoyed your comments. Come by, man. We're working on our full-fledged apprenticeship. We're looking to be approved through the Department of Labor. We're doing plumbing, electrical, carpentry, HVAC, masonry, the whole nine. And what you said, I don't care if people agree or disagree with you, but with your comments today, man, a lot of what you said is true, and I appreciate it.
I'm reading this gross Senate bill number 361, and I think I'm going to let you in on that too, because it's a bad bill, but I think that some of the provisions are good for what we're talking about right here.
Well,
our men to do work.
Come by Sunday after church. We have a meal and we meet. I think Ryan Mears is going to be there. We're proud of our prosecutor in the sense that he's going to show up and talk to us. So we're going to be over about 2:00.
I'll come by now. I will be glad to come by there and listen in on the conversation.
And you can share if there's some bills that you think we need to look at. Hey, man, we all have a voice. We all pay taxes, whether people agree or disagree. We have a right.
When I first looked at it, but I'm reading some of these provisions that talking about what you're talking about.
Well, let's do it, Larry. Look forward to it, man. I'm at 2748 Dr. Andrew J. Brown. Yes, sir. Well, have a blessed day. Have a blessed day. Hey, we got James. We're gonna try our caller, James. We're gonna see if James is there and can come. Hey, James, can you hear me?
Hello?
Okay. Now we're not gonna be able to hear from the studio because it's very obvious. Hey, Dr. Heron, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. Were you able to listen to the conversation while we had you on hold?
No, because I couldn't hear the conversation.
Okay. Well, Larry has some great points, and he's going to be stopping by when we do the National Political Network right after church. Let me say this: for those callers that want to come into the show, you're probably going to have to call my cell phone, 317-205-7058, and I'll just blend those in. That way you can hear Dr. Heron, and we'll go from there. Now, what I love about what we're doing as a church, we have to do more than what we did. I mean, when you look at the pandemic hitting the church, no signs, no wonders, just simply closing up, just like everybody's sick, like everybody else is sick. I mean, what testimony as a church do we have if we don't have the signs and the wonders that follow them that believe? Now, we have to get out of these practices just thinking we're going to go to church and not get involved in our community, not fight politically. We have to get out of that mindset. And here's one of my scriptures I use with that. Isaiah 9:6, it says, "For us, unto us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders." Now, if the Lord is carrying the government, that means all governments. The government be upon his shoulders. So if the Lord is concerned with government and carrying it, we gotta be concerned, and we gotta be as equally involved as the Lord's involved. And so he's involved in every area of this world, and we have to be involved as well. All right, Dr. Heron, what do you think about that?
Well, the Word of God said also that we need to trust Him, and that man will lie, and God is the truth.
Yeah.
So we during the pandemic.
Yes.
Because we were listening. We were hearing what man was saying, but we were following and believing what the Word of God says.
That's right.
And we wasn't afraid. we would still go out and do ministry
Mm-hmm.
on the streets. Wherever there were people, we did ministry, and we were able to help quite a few people because we believed the word of God. We kept it moving. And so even like right now, I don't want to say I'm thankful for the pandemic, but if something happened in my life during that time, it was like, I don't know, it was like I was changed.
Yeah, it forced us to get out of our comfort zone. We got a caller just called in. I blend them into the call while you were talking, Dr. Harry. Who's the caller on the line?
Hello, this is Nyla. I'm so glad that Sister Aaron's talking about those boots on the ground. It's so important that, and even when you're talking about you're going to be doing more things to help understand the voting process and even pulling how our candidates have voted if they're already been in office already. Because that's important too. When you look at their history in terms of the laws that they may have introduced, as well as how they voted on the various legislation that's come up to become laws. And so that's so important. And even talking to us about how you find out who your council person is, because you can call and just give your address. They'll tell you who your people are just by giving your address. If you call the state office building, they'll tell you who your representative is. And so that's so important, just getting that knowledge on how to do things. The biggest reason why I called today, because I wanted to hear Sister Harry as well as your opinion on the fact that they're having the juvenile court come over to where the adult court is. I've said it on a couple of shows, but I want to continue because that is a very big concern. As I went to the meeting and wanted to make sure I confirmed that the children are going to be sent over for court at the jail. Now they keep wanting to call it the Community Justice Center. It is a big jail holding my brown and black children and poor whites in. That's what that's about over there on the south side of town. I don't care how you look at it. Emma Tapp was talking about how our black males make up 6% of the population from Marion County, but they're making 40% of that jail. And so when we look at what's going on in our community, we cannot overlook those facts. And when the mayor's person representative was speaking at the meeting that they had on the south side, talking about what they want to do over in Norwood, they said they're also wanting to add the morgue over there. So I continue to say you want to put from the cradle to the grave over there for our brown and black people. And if we don't wake up, one of the mayor's folks said, well, they're going to put a family center over there. And it's like, that's not hope, to have these children over there and to have the families over there looking at what? A jail for adults and children and a morgue. There's no hope in that. So as the community pulls together to say we want to stop on putting our children over there at the adult jail, and we don't want a morgue over there either. So I just want to hear your input. I hope for your input, because I'm going to clear the line on this.
Okay, stay for us for a second if you can. Please don't clear it. Now check this out. When I went to the city council meeting and I was hearing the development of the new jail, $520 million was being discussed to build a new jail. Now, when the Republicans was trying to do it, people was laying in the streets. We had people lined up saying, no, we don't need a new jail. But as soon as the Democrats said it, not only did they get a new jail, but they got a new state-of-the-art jail that would cover mental health facility as well as the juvenile facility. Now, this was discussed in committee, and people were supposed to express what they felt, what they believed at those committee meetings, showing up at the city council. People didn't show up. Consequently, politicians and those who had interest in this created something that unfortunately now that it's been created, we have to stand up and try to figure out where can we fit into this and make a difference. Now, your name is Nyla, right?
Yes.
Okay, Nyla, I met with uh, one of the chief of police. What I'm trying to do is go into that jail and provide a virtual training for construction. And upon release, they're getting jobs, they're getting the plan. trying to work with Anthony Beverly and doing a whole full development plan for them to see what their goals are, whether it be opening a business, even down to something simple as a driver's license, helping with child support, all this sort of thing. We have to figure out what can we do now that this has been done to try to help people transition from there. Because I mean, after I'm quite sure estimating $620 million later investment, we have allowed that to be the case, and there's no way that we can spend that kind of money and think that things are going to change without us looking at where we are now and getting in where we fit in.
Now, and I agree with what you're saying in terms of the training for the gentlemen and women that are incarcerated, where they can come up with a skill, because one of the things, and it's interesting, Larry was bringing the same point with me, they have pushed college or die programs, let's say in the various charters and schools as well. But see what has happened to the Black community, our trades, right now, when he's talking about being dependent upon white contractors. Right now, you could get the uncle that did plumbing or somebody that did roofing or somebody. That's not where our brown and black children are getting that kind of training anymore. And what it's been, it's a big cost when you're trying to, do house upkeep and different things like that, because that has been eliminated, and it is a big concern because we need to have those hands-on skills again because it's costing our community greatly. But as far as the juvenile court coming over there, as far as moving those children over there and talking about a family center, no. And the move has not occurred yet. It needs to be protest. Our children do not need to be over there. They don't need to go over there. The court is not being created over there yet. The gentleman this Friday night when I was at the meeting, he said that they had $100,000 equipment that's getting water all over it at the morgue, and that's why they want to make that move. Well, our children are much more, they are priceless. Our children are priceless. And the whole idea that you think is okay, but the children over at adult court is a very sick thing. Not only that, you're talking about adding more too. So you're talking about let them look at a whole system of this is from your birth till you die. We got everything over here.
Yeah, that's pretty.
We have to do something about that.
Well, I tell you what, do me a favor because I want to know more about that. Okay, and we can talk with the sheriff. We have access to talk to the sheriff. I got about 3 minutes left. So that we can put something together and see about a solution. I will invite the sheriff onto our show because that you raise a great point. I was very young inside Marion County Jail when I was a teenager. I don't have an adult record, but when I was younger, and the ideal of being in the jail with adults, they could have done anything to me at any given moment. So having our children in that environment, I know from a personal position, is not good. And it's not even good to let them to see things on an adult level because that's sending the wrong message. So I'm totally in agreement with you. And sometimes it just takes people like you coming to the National Political Network, which we meet every Sunday, 2748 Dr. Andrew J. Brown. We meet every Sunday. We even have good meals right after service. My wife cooked a great meal last Sunday, and we enjoyed ourselves. We got T-shirts, and we just want people like you, Nyla, who's woke, as the young people say, to come by and share and be with us. We would love to have you come by. All right.
And we support you.
Lord willing, I hope to come by and see you and Sister Harriet and the rest of the group over there. And we have to wake up. And
We
so
do.
When they start, it's gonna be a drive. When that drive happens for us to go see the new deal, I call it the J Marriott. That's what it is for the judge's side. But it's still big cement blocks on the backside where the jail is going to be held. So I'm hoping, because we have to have a perspective. Most people don't even know that building is existing, and a lot of people thought it was a hotel or something. And if you don't know the backside is going to house our young men and young ladies over there, you will be disillusioned. You know, so I'm not interested in that palace. I've been in that palace, and it's not a good thing that you have invested making this pretty side for the judges, and you got this other side on the back to house our people in. So I appreciate the time. Thank you for your time and just sharing. And Lord willing, I hope to be over there. NILA stands for Nudging Intelligent Listeners into Action. Have a blessed day.
You have a blessed day as well. God bless you.
And y'all remember how they opened up liquor stores on Sundays and people trying to figure out who did that, who said that can happen.
Absolutely.
You know, and so we support you, and however we can help. You know to call the radio station on Mondays. So yes.
Well, thank you. God bless you.
Have a blessed day.
You too. So
Thank you for sharing.
thank you for sharing. Now we got a minute to wrap up. I want to let my Facebook watchers, we're Community Church Indy, 2748 Dr. Andrew J. Brown. We have our Vice President of National Political Network that's joined me to host this line. I want you to come, get involved. Let's gather all of our voting power. So when things are happening like what Miss Nyla just mentioned, we'll show that we're all on one accord, and that we won't stand for anything that will hurt our children. I'm gonna call the sheriff and talk to him about that, see what's going on, and maybe invite him onto our show, because certainly we do want to hear from our sheriff. I think the sheriff department, they're doing everything they can in their power to help things be right in that jail. I know that for a fact. So we got to come alongside them now. We have no recourse of action, because the city has decided to do this, and we have to make the best of it. All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Herring, for coming on. And thank you for all those who listen to Community Church Broadcast. I've been your host, Pastor Antonio Lipscomb, and have a blessed day. Peace.
Hallelujah. Thank you.